with AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
We are here today to do a single job, and that should be to fund fully the Department of Homeland Security. Anything else is an abdication of our responsibility. Anything else is an act of legislative malpractice simply because of the inability of my friends on the other side of the aisle to satisfy the thirst of the extreme right-wing anti-immigration base of the party. And so we're playing political games at a time when the safety and the security of the American people is being threatened.
But I can tell you they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. Pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran.
The illegal alien who killed Sheridan Gorman is exactly who Democrats are fighting to protect with their needless shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Their absurd list of demands paints a clear picture. Open borders, limited deportations, and violent illegal aliens roaming free. Democrats want to return America to the days of the Biden border crisis. But that's not going to happen. We're not going to go back. This week, the House is going to vote once again to fund all of DHS. We will vote to end this shutdown, pay the frontline heroes of Border Patrol, TSA, and the Coast Guard, and put the security of our nation first. But Democrats will continue to obstruct. Why? Because they'd rather protect violent illegal aliens over the American people.
Was your child. Just think about that for a minute. As a mother, it absolutely infuriates me because Democrats are refusing to put my children, our children, American children, over these violent, illegal criminals. That's not hypothesis. That is fact. And if you don't believe it, why don't you talk to Sheraton's parents? I just get irritated, and I can't believe this is going on in America. Democrats are back to their old chant, defund the police. I mean, that is who they are. Make them own that.
This is not a game, but Democrats have shut down the exact law enforcement agencies that are responsible for apprehending and deporting criminal illegal aliens, just like this criminal here that took Sheridan's life. At this exact moment, even as we learn of yet another entirely preventable murder of an innocent young woman at the hands of criminal illegal aliens, Democrats in the House are demanding a DHS bill that would eliminate funding for the exact agencies that are tasked with preventing a tragedy like this.
There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. They're national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
A horrific murder in Chicago last week has reminded this nation that the battle to defend the American people, strengthen our republic, and wield constitutional authority for the common good is not confined to the southern border. It's being fought and lost right here in our own cities.
One of your legacy items has been freeing hostages all over the world. Israeli hostages, American hostages. American Dennis Coyle has been taken hostage by the Taliban for almost a year now. His family has been speaking out. Molly Long went on News Nation last week to ask for some more public attention to this case. What is your administration doing to get him home?
Well, you give me some information, I'll take care of that.
You hear those cheers. That's the pictures of Dennis Coyle, who has been held captive by the Taliban for about a year now, is now back on U.S. soil, arriving moments ago there in San Antonio.
Charlie. The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It is March 25th, 2026, here at the Bitcoin.com studios in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, Blake.
Howdy.
So the topic at the lead here of our show is to make a deal or not make a deal. It seems to be something of a mystery whether or not one was even taking place. President Trump says it is. Iranian officials deny it, but I think we've concluded.
In a permanent state of maximum excitement. We're maximally open to a deal. We're always on the brink of a deal, and yet we're also permanently ready to go maximally hard. It's like,
listen,
it's got to be Trump's.
This is what they're calling Trump's strategy of the doctrine of unpredictability. And, you know, it's kind of the point. I think it's kind of the point. So what are the deal parameters? And let's get to the clip that is kind of spurring a lot of this discussion. This was a wild moment from yesterday. It happened after our show wrapped yesterday. And President Trump hints that, well, he doesn't hint, he says directly that Iran sent him a present, and it has a lot of people speculating what that present could be. SOT 13.
They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize, and they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it, so that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did, but what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people.
It's so funny how he phrases that, because the description, even though your mind goes to, you know, it's President Trump, so you picture him getting like a giant medallion he could hang in, you know, the Oval Office or something. But the implication I got is it could be something more abstract, like worth a tremendous amount of money, oil and gas related. Well, we already saw the damage. We saw the damage, for example, when Iran lobbed those missiles at that gas facility in Qatar. Maybe they got evidence that an attack on a similar target got called off or got blocked.
It could be anything. It could be Strait of Hormuz. It could be Cargo Island. It could be that. It could be a number of things. Trump's not giving us any details. But what was interesting about the way this played out yesterday was that the other legacy media outlets were denying Trump's claim that we're not getting any reports from Iranian sources that there is actually a peace deal in negotiation. And then eventually the legacy media was forced to walk back those claims, SOT 21.
Now learning from a senior Iranian source that there has been an outreach between the U.S. and Iran. The source tells CNN that this was initiated by Washington.
All right, so CNN's only point of differentiation here is that Washington reached out to Iran first. President Trump says, oh, they're desperate for a deal. And so it's remains unclear. Then there was this whole story that Iran did not want to work with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. They only wanted to work with J.D. Vance. Now, J.D. Vance and the White House are denying those claims, calling it foreign disinformation. So take from that what you will. But it remains that it does look like, you know, based on President Trump's earlier warning, he gave them 5 days or he was going to start striking their energy facilities, their oil and gas infrastructure. He says he's got 4 days left and that they want to make a deal.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll play another. Let's play another clip from President Trump. So to give more flavor here, SOP 14.
God, I can tell you they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. They're pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran.
It is really, it does drive that point home. I saw a good comparison. It's like, imagine we were in a war with China and 3 weeks in, the president was dead, the vice president was dead, a bunch of Congress was dead, a bunch of the generals were dead. No one knows who's in charge of the U.S. military. All of our boats sank, all of our planes blew up. They can fly wherever they want. Everyone's terrified of where a drone would strike. But we did close the Panama Canal, and maybe 20 Chinese are dead. And who would you say is winning in that arrangement?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I gave you guys a note of warning, right? There was a strike near in Israel from Iran near a nuclear facility there. That was a warning. There was also reports potentially that Iran had stockpiles that were not previously known of even more advanced missile stock. I have been calling around a lot of sources on this, and I will tell you, just as somebody that's an objective observer of this situation, the tone behind the scenes seems to have lifted. I'm hearing a lot more positivity about the potential outcome of this war. Speaker Johnson is now saying he thinks Operation Epic Fury is about to get wrapped up this week. I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe that's glass half full, rose-colored glasses. But I will tell you, just the tone of people that I'm speaking to has shifted. There is a note of positivity. Oil markets have edged down, which is a good sign. And if we can get a 15-point plan over the finish line, that would be good.
That's what's going on right now. Reportedly, a 15-point plan was sent by the U.S. through whatever, I think through Pakistan.
Pakistan is the one doing it.
Whoever in Iran we are currently negotiating with. And we don't have the list of the 15 points, but there's reporting from the New York Times, from Al Jazeera, and others on what it probably includes. That would include a initial 30-day ceasefire, dismantling of Iran's existing nuclear facilities at Fordow, Isfahan, Natanz, we're demanding a permanent commitment from Iran to never develop any nuclear capabilities.
Which President Trump has said
over and
they've
over.
Already agreed. Trump has said they've already agreed to that.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz, this is a big one, an end of Iran supporting these military proxies across the Middle East. That's like Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's the Houthis in Yemen. Those have constantly been this kind of sore that's caused tensions and problems all over the place. I mean, we have, separately from the Iran war, there is a war going on in Lebanon right now that has killed as many, if not more people than the one in Iran. And that's because of Hezbollah existing in southern Lebanon. And so they have similar demands. And we even agreed, apparently, that we would have U.S. support for electricity generation at a civil nuclear plant if they're really insisting they need some sort of nuclear power. So far, Iran's propaganda has said they're rejecting all of this, and instead they have their own 5-point plan, which would include that we give them control of the Strait of Hormuz permanently.
Which is their legal right to do so.
I think we're unlikely to make that agreement.
Yeah, they've got no cards on that, I don't think. They have some cards, but they don't have a lot of cards. But yeah, listen, and by the way, President Trump has said that point 1, 2, and 3 of his 15-point plan is no nuclear weapons.
And it's Trump, so you can imagine 1, 2, and 3 all just saying Iran will have no nuclear weapons.
But listen, I'm calling balls and strikes here. I'm telling you, the tone has shifted with many people that were very negative just a few days ago. There seems to be a sense of optimism. Let's hope that holds. Let's hope that this ends quickly. I want to tell you about our friends over at StrongCell, StrongCell.com. Amazing company, amazing guys, great company out of Texas. What this does, they have developed a proprietary mechanism to deliver NADH to your cells. You don't need an IV anymore. Blake's already rushing ahead. You didn't take the note.
I don't need an IV.
Well, exactly. So this is great stuff. Honestly, was one of Charlie's favorite supplements. And you guys asked him about it wherever he went, which was cool. And it's amazing stuff. Give it 4 to 6 weeks. You will notice a massive difference. 4 to 6 weeks. That's all you got to do. And the good news is you got a 90-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, which I doubt, but hey, if it doesn't, you get your money back. If you use promo code Charlie at checkout at StrongCell.com, you get 20% off. StrongCell.com. This is amazing stuff. We're honored to be partnering with them because it actually works. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Howdy, Rab fams. It's Warbringer here. Love you all. Rab is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
Hey, this is SEAL Team from Missouri. I like Real America's Voice because it's real news for real people, and it's real good.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
Tell you guys about YREFI.com. They are great guys, great company.
$300 billion US dollars, $45 billion distressed.
Private student loan debt in the U.S. totals about $300 billion. About $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. Why Refi refinances distressed or defaulted private student loans that others simply will not touch. And if that's you, please check them out. It may not be available in all 50 states, but if it's available in your state, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. If you find yourself in a situation with private student loans, you got to check them out. You go to their website, check out the before and afters. It's striking. I actually did this yesterday because I kept saying it. You can go to their website. You see the payments before and the payments after working with YRefi. They can save you thousands. So please check them out today. YRefi.com, 888-YRefi34. Give them a call or log on. No credit impact. They don't care if you have bad credit. They'll even let you skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times without penalty. Amazing, amazing patriots. That's what they wake up to do every day, is help students. All right, I want to pivot our attention to what's happening with this DHS funding fight, because it's all happening upon the backdrop of the Sheridan Gorman killing in Chicago, right? So you have DHS to defend and protect the homeland. One of those jobs is, yes, deport illegal aliens, deport criminals. Some of that is FEMA funding. Some of that is TSA. A lot of these different DHS is huge. And then now you got Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, who's just been sworn in. Congratulations to Secretary Mullen. He has been a friend of the show and been on many, many times. And so I think he's the perfect guy for the job. We had Tom Homan on yesterday saying that he was the perfect guy at the perfect time. So let's hope that his tenure is a successful one. But listen, I don't typically play clips from Tom Emmer. I got some history and scar tissue just from some of that stuff. But he did say this very well here, and so I'm going to give the man his due. Cut 12.
The illegal alien who killed Sheridan Gorman is exactly who Democrats are fighting to protect with their needless shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Their absurd list of demands paints a clear picture. Open borders, limited deportations, and violent illegal aliens roaming free. Democrats want to return America to the days of the Biden border crisis. But that's not going to happen. We're not going to go back. This week, the House is going to vote once again to fund all of DHS. We will vote to end this shutdown, pay the frontline heroes of Border Patrol, TSA, and the Coast Guard, and put the security of our nation first. But Democrats will continue to obstruct. Why? Because they'd rather protect violent illegal aliens over the American people.
I mean, and that's really what it comes down to. They want to protect illegal aliens. I don't know why. Now their newest demand is that they want to remove funding from HSI, which is the investigative arm of Homeland Security.
It's exactly as we said yesterday, which is the problem with talking about so much of the left, is when you honestly describe their policies, you sound insane because it is unfathomably deranged and evil. But when you're defunding Homeland Security investigations, when you're defunding ICE, the policy intent of this is make it so anyone in the world can come to America and it is impossible for them to be taken out. They'll say, oh, we want the worst offenders to be deported, but they do not believe it. They are lying.
You obviously don't want that if you want to defund HSI.
But yeah, if you're defunding that, if you're going to make it, it's like when they say, we know voter fraud doesn't exist, so we're never ever going to investigate it or indict anyone or look at it.
Voter ID.
Total see no evil. Because if these people are showing up at the border and you're going to let them in, and then if they blow off their hearing, you're not going to find them. You're not going to have any ICE agents to make the arrest and ship them back. You're going to bar agents from even going to courtrooms and prisons to pick up the ones who get caught committing crimes. Your position is anyone, especially criminals, has the right to come to the United States and stay here forever.
Well, what's interesting is we have this clip from none other than Hakeem Jeffries in 2015 talking about playing politics with DHS funding. SOP 4.
We are here today to do a single job, and that should be to fund fully the Department of Homeland Security. Anything else is an abdication of our responsibility. Anything else is an act of legislative malpractice simply because of the inability of my friends on the other side of the aisle to satisfy the thirst of the extreme right-wing anti-immigration base of the party. And so we're playing political games at a time when the safety and the security of the American people is being threatened.
Well, that's a far cry from the modern Democrat Party. Let's go ahead and play. This is Philly DA Larry Krasner, Soros-funded Larry Krasner. He's now threatening to arrest ICE agents if they come to his airport to help, lessen the security lines. SOT 9.
This is how it works. You commit crimes within the jurisdiction that is the city and county of Philadelphia, I prosecute you. That is how it works. No, I don't take a phone call from the president saying let him go. No, the president cannot pardon you. I'll say it again. The president cannot pardon you. And yes, I will put you in handcuffs, and I will put you in a courtroom, and if necessary, I will put you in a jail cell.
It's infuriating. They treat ICE agents like they are the Gestapo. That's why they describe them like the Gestapo. This is the same Krasner, by the way, who was promising to hunt down ICE agents like Nazis a couple of months ago.
He's just despicable. He is a man who loves criminals. He supports criminals. He celebrates when criminals are able to kill Americans.
Yeah, that's what's hilarious about his comment, is that he's saying, I hunt down criminals and I prosecute criminals. Well, no, you don't, Larry Krasner. No, you don't. Actually, you get to pick and choose which criminals you want to hunt down.
And we have one more blast from it feels like a blast from the past to me, but it really is indicative of the values of the left that persist. There is no moderation on the immigration issue from them. And this is, so we were talking about Sheridan Gorman. She was murdered. She was a student at Loyola in Chicago. And this is how her own student newspaper wrote up what had happened. They wrote an article about it that had the title, "Immigrant Man Charged in Murder of Sheridan Gorman, DHS Involved." And they have updated their story and issued a lengthy apology because they say they didn't write about it in the way that reflects their standards and values, because they described the man who murdered Sheridan Gorman allegedly as an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, go to that headline again, that image of it.
So that language does not align with Associated Press style, nor does it align with the values of this newspaper. No human's existence is illegal, and we quickly changed our wording to reflect that. We acknowledge the harm such language can cause and the power and importance of the words we choose to use. We deeply regret these errors. Here, how about we deeply regret that an illegal foreigner came to the United States and murdered a woman in a robbery, a woman who did nothing wrong and was basically executed by someone who should have never been here.
That's a truly offensive, disgusting, gross headline from the student paper?
The Loyola Phoenix. Yes, I believe so.
Dear God. I mean, we're not dealing with sane and rational actors here. There's been a lot of talk. Is Iran an irrational actor? We have very irrational actors right here.
Iran has to be more rational than the person who wrote this article.
Good Lord. Lord have mercy. We'll be right back with Chip Roy. Don't go anywhere.
Get Ready America, March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? If you ever talk to the host, you can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. Smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals, and that's why you may want to consider buying gold from the folks over at the Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced investment strategy. What's even better is that the Birch Gold Group can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. All you have to do is text the word America to the number 989898, and you'll receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation here, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, allow the Birch Gold Group to help you diversify with gold. That truly is peace of mind. Text the word America to the number 989898. Again, text America to the number 989898 today. Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. The Trump administration is out with a 15-point ceasefire proposal to Iran. Pakistani officials say that it requires a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, missile limits, as well as access for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. In the meantime, the commander-in-chief is putting pressure on the Islamic regime to accept his terms as he is sending 1,000 or thousands of paratroopers to the region. The troops are with the 82nd Airborne Division. Airborne Rangers, by the way, are trained to parachute into hostile or even contested territory in order to secure key sites. The deployment is scheduled to happen within days, and it bolsters the military buildup in the Middle East. Thousands of Marines are also headed to the war zone to serve in whatever capacity may be needed. The commander-in-chief says his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff are holding talks with an unnamed Iranian leader, but it's not the country's supreme leader. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'm Terrence Bates.
It's time for a whole new generation to wise up and rise up. The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right. We'll be welcoming Chip Roy in just 1 second. First, I want to tell you about our friends over at Patriot Mobile. Great people. Glenn and Jenny Story are amazing patriots, and they're fighting like heck. I'm going to say heck. For the state of Texas, so it ties in with Chip. They're working on the Islamification of Texas issue. They're working on keeping it red, getting out the votes. How do you support their work? Is you sign up for Patriot Mobile. Make the switch today. They have access to all 3 major U.S. wireless carriers, so you get the same great service you become accustomed to, and they have 100% U.S.-based customer support. I've actually called these folks a couple of times, and they're amazing, and they can get you fixed and sorted out really quickly. So when you make the switch, you'll help grow a movement that fuels the Christian conservative cause in this country. Every bill you pay helps advance values of faith, family, and freedom. And switching is easier than ever. So there's no more excuses. If you've been watching me tell you about Patriot Mobile for some time now, just do it today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie, patriotmobile.com/Charlie, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Charlie for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie. Or do what I do. I have a dual SIM, so I have 2 networks on the same phone. Check it out today. Great folks over there. We love Glenn and Jenny. Okay. Without further ado, Chip Roy's running for Attorney General of the great state of Texas. Turning Point Action endorsed. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, great to be on, guys. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. I want to read a tweet here from Bill Malhusian. He said, breaking, acting TSA Administrator Miss Ha Nguyen McNeil testifies that currently TSA is suffering the longest wait lines in agency history, with call-out rates hitting 40 to 50% at some airports, and more than 400 employees have quit since the shutdown began. There is over $1 billion in paychecks outstanding. What are we doing here, Chip?
Well, what's happening here is Democrats are trying to, leverage and hold hostage the American people to try to score political points, which is somewhat ironic because I don't know how they're scoring political points with anybody other than the very invaders and proponents of sanctuary cities that they're standing alongside. Look, my only gripe is I think Republicans need to do a better job on the Hill of painting the picture that it is Democrats that is causing this issue. We've got to go on offense that Democrats are making the lives of the American people miserable. I had friends in Houston. I think you saw probably on social media. Hopefully you didn't experience it yourself. Friends of mine did in Houston that were 4 and 5 and 6 hour waits. They missed their flights, spent overnight in the airport. This stuff is having a real impact on Americans. Meanwhile, Democrats are wanting to saddle up with the very people who are causing the issue. So we've got to just keep our foot on the gas. I don't really love what I was hearing come out of the Senate about some sort of, let's fund DHS all except for ICE. Look, Democrats are saying that we shouldn't have ICE out there enforcing the law and removing dangerous aliens. And for that, they want to make Americans wait in line and not be able to go travel around the country. Let's make them own it, and let's stand up for ICE. Let's not try to give them a hall pass and an off-ramp to deal with ICE.
Yeah, so you keep hearing from the Democrats that, hey, we've offered these standalone TSA funding bills to get that off the table. What do you make of that allegation, that approach that they're taking? Is it true? What's not true? Why would we not take that, et cetera?
Well, look, first of all, we isolated DHS when we funded government except for DHS, right? And then now you're getting into DHS, and so they're leaving all of these other things unfunded. Thankfully, we had money sitting there in the big, beautiful bill. We thought ahead last year, had the money that we're able to use for ICE and Border Patrol, but that's leaving TSA and FEMA and Coast Guard, other entities, Secret Service, other things that are left holding the bag. So, look, my view is the more you keep isolating it down, the more you're giving Democrats the ability to say, yeah, we're going to hold ICE hostage, right? We're going to stop enforcement and interior enforcement. I think we need to say, wait a minute. Our job is to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Don't let them, whittle that down. We should be standing up and saying, look, we're going to fund DHS, and we're doing that. We're sending them bills, and the Senate ought to just keep forcing the votes on them and make them own it. I'm not in favor of whittling it down. That being said, whatever we need to do to try to do our job to make sure we keep people safe and get TSA doing their job, I'm willing to have all the conversations we need to. We're trying to responsibly govern. The president's trying to make sure we're, dealing with Iran, that we're doing our job here, that we're defending the homeland, and Democrats playing politics with it. So we're all trying to figure out how to break them.
Yeah, and I completely agree. You give them so much leverage, by the way, Chip, if you start whittling it down and giving them one other pet project to then debate that. Right. So I completely agree with you, Congressman. So let's turn our attention to the SAVE Act. You've been one of the leaders on the Save America Act. It seems like, I called it failure theater in the Senate. I feel like that's where we're still at. You got great patriots like Mike Lee that are fighting with everything they've got. And I think he's coming out looking like an absolute rock star here. What is your assessment of the progress being made or not being made on the Save America Act?
Well, I think you were about to say fighting like heck again, look, yeah, that's perfect for my good Mormon friend Mike Lee, who's the only time he gets salty language is when he's around bad influences. But Mike is a great American, one of my best friends here. He's doing a fantastic job, along with our mutual friend Cleta Mitchell, who's one of the great minds behind this bill. He and I worked together 2 years ago. I think I remember I saw earlier somebody retweeted one of Charlie's tweets from the summer of 24, where he said he agreed with Elon, and Elon was an early supporter of the bill we'd introduced to say, guys, we should just guarantee that we know that only American citizens are voting, clean up the voter rolls, ensure we have processes to check citizenship. And Charlie was an early supporter and an adopter of promoting the SAVE Act. We obviously added voter ID, made the Save America Act. It's a great bill. We've got it through the House. Mike is pushing it hard. And is it failure theater? Yes. Right now, if you look at what they're doing, there's a certain element to that. But I would say the fact that we've now been on it for 8, 9 days in the Senate, and we forced them through the weekend, and we've got the leader and everybody trying to figure out what to do, means we're actually forcing them to do their job. Normally, they just kind of shrug it off and go give a press conference. So all of the work, all that Scott Presler's doing, all that you guys are doing, all the effort by Elon and everybody to elevate this, and Mike Lee and then us in the House, and the president, let's be very clear, the president has been a loud voice for this. I think everybody in America is saying, guys, get it done. And look, I made a message to Garcia guy. I don't know if you've read that old piece. It's a great piece about, hey, get it done. I don't care how you do it, get it done. That's what the American people want. They don't want to know about all the mess. Just deliver it. So that's my message to the senators. You figure out how to get it done. Let's go do it. But no more excuses.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting. You brought up Elon, and, maybe people would find this interesting. But, I've heard stories of Elon being presented some of this data behind the scenes. And, Elon's a guy that's used to looking at software. He's used to looking at data. He's used to looking at physical hardware as well. And he's assessed it. And there's a reason why a guy like Elon Musk knows that this is existential to the future of the Republic. I don't have any more details to share than that, other than when a guy like Elon looks at the data and the information and the evidence set and says this is existential, you should probably take his word for that. And so, yeah, we got to get this done. One other question on this, because I want to pivot to, we'll keep this short, but I know Senator Mike Lee is not in favor of doing this via reconciliation. You're not in the Senate, but what's your take on reconciliation, something that Senator Kennedy is pushing, versus getting it done, talking filibuster, whatever?
Again, I'm somebody who's always willing to sit down at a table and find a way to succeed and to deliver. We did it on the big, beautiful bill, right? There were a lot of things in there, moving parts. I fought hard to get rid of green new scam subsidies. Side note, by the way, a bunch of leftists from Burbank, California ran $1 million of ads against me in a Republican primary because they wanted to end my career because I was fighting so hard on the green new scam subsidies, which is one of the key things the president ran on. I bring that up because, look, when you go through all of this, I will find a way to get it done. If we can do it on reconciliation, great. But color me skeptic, right? Because last year we got shut down by the rulings of the parliamentarian in the Senate that you can do this kind of thing through it. I think Republicans in the Senate are looking for an off-ramp to move down the field and then say they did something when they tie some issue with voter ID, or they say, well, we'll only give you a certain amount of funding if you do X, Y, Z. None of that will force the recalcitrant blue states to actually do their job of ensuring that only citizens are voting. None of it will, I think, clear it up so that we can overturn the ruling that says that states like Arizona can't check voter rolls. You all know Arizona well. They actually have to run 2 election sets of data. They're able to check for citizenship for state and local elections, but they can't for federal. So they have to run 2 because of federal rules and regulations in the law. So we need to change the law. Hard to do that on reconciliation. I think that's sort of a, I don't want to say gaslighting, but I do think a little bit of it is finding an off-ramp to say, oh, yeah, we'll do that. And it's a little bit of a head pat.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how much of the power rests with the Senate parliamentarian. And there is it seems to be a divergence of beliefs of whether you could get it through the parliamentarian, you could structure it in such a way that it would get through a reconciliation bill. But then if it goes through reconciliation, there's no chance of getting this implemented in time for the midterms. There's a lot of questions of whether or not it could be implemented for the midterms. Chip, do you have time to stick around for one more segment? I don't know. Okay, great. I know you're busy on the campaign trail, so I want to get to Texas, which is why, because you're in the middle of a big race down there. I think your runoff is May 26th. So that's coming up quick, but there's tons of issues in Texas that are worth diving into. There's the Islamification. You just came out with a Criminal Accountability Act targeting repeat offenders, which is music to my ears. So I want to make sure we give proper time to both. But just 30 seconds left in this segment. Chip, where can people go to support your campaign?
Yeah, chiproy.com, chiproy.com, or you can follow me on X/Twitter on ChipRoyTX, ChipRoyTX. And we've got a competitive race down in Texas. We're going to win it, but we got to get everybody turned out, and happy to stay through the segment.
All right, let's talk about on the other side, Chip, because I want to get into the Islamification stuff too, which, as you know, was near and dear to Charlie's heart. All right, real quick, I want to tell you guys about All Family Pharmacy. Great folks down in Florida, built an amazing business. Our health insurance is a mess. We all know this. Our health system is becoming increasingly a mess, but this is one of those innovations that you guys need to be taking advantage of. You need to rethink the way that you approach pharmacy. Okay, the pharmacist, you got to get your medications before you get sick, so you're prepped and ready to go. Don't go to the doctor and then wait in line and then get permission slips and then go wait in another line. No, go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. And you can get your antibiotics, your antivirals, your Tamiflu, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole. You can get methylene blue, even your daily maintenance medications. You can get them all at allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use Kirk10 at checkout to save 10% on your next order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use promo code Kirk10 to save 10% on your next order. We'll be right back. More with Chip Roy out of Texas, running for Attorney General of that state. When we return, we'll be right back.
Get Ready America, March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We have Congressman Chip Roy in the great state of Texas, who's also running for attorney general of that state. And you have an issue here, Congressman, that is near and dear to Blake Neff's heart. So I'm going to take it up. I'll set it up. It says Rep. Chip Royce's Breitbart introduces Career Criminal Accountability Act targeting repeat offenders. You're speaking his love language, sir.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we've seen over and over. I was telling Andrew, there's a classic headline. I think it was from the New York Times, but I'm not sure. But where the headline was prison population surge despite fall in crime. And I think we're going through another wave that's happened 2 or 3 times even in our lifetimes of us reminding ourselves that the best way to stop crime is to put a pretty tiny number of people just behind bars for good, because there are some people who, if they are free, will do crimes.
Bring back the 3 strikes rule. That's what I'm about. But anyways,
so yeah, tell us about your bill.
Yeah, well, first of all, look, I'm 53 years old. I grew up in the 80s, in high school, 90s, in college. I saw D.C. when it was just an absolute cesspool, and then New York City, obviously, when it was very dangerous. And then we actually, through broken glass, through all the different policies that, Mayor Giuliani and others carried out in the D.C., we actually started getting this country into a pretty good spot. And we were putting criminals in jail, and we were going after ways to stop judges who were putting people back out on the street, right? So that's what happened when we came in and we had 3 strikes, you're out. We had, mandatory sentences in order to step in front of judges who weren't doing their job. Well, then, things got pretty good. It was a pretty safe country. And then you heard, and you just noted it, it's really important. You noted about, well, who's in jail? You kept hearing people say, well, gosh, 3 million people in jail in the United States, more than any other country. I'm like, well, yeah, that might have something to do with why we're a pretty safe country. So what happened was everybody said, well, let's start letting some of these folks out and let's go back to sort of soft on crime policies. Well, guess what? Crime's been spiking. Now we've got judges putting criminals on the streets. Crime Stoppers in Houston said that there have been 220 Houstonians who were murdered by multiple time felons who had been in and out of jail and being arrested and let free by judges. 220 Houstonians murdered. That's insane. That's Texas. That's not D.C. That's not San Francisco. It's not New York. It's Texas. And this is one of the reasons I'm running for attorney general. I introduced this bill federally to restore 3 strikes, which have been watered down through various sentencing guidelines changes over the years. And I want to restore a really better model for 3 strikes and you're out that really focuses on felons who engage in dangerous criminal activity.
So what's the point? How does it work? The point.
Well, what we do is we changed the point system so that now it's structured so that if you've got, significant felonies and you've engaged in dangerous crimes, then you get a full point. And then there's quarter points for other criminal activity, misdemeanors and other things to try to account for the concerns that people had raised. Like, well, we have people who are 3 strikes because they just, sold some pot. It's like, hold on, we're going to minimize that relative to the, more dangerous crimes and the, where you're engaging in crimes with a weapon, where you're engaging in dangerous crimes. And then we will change the model so that we can have an actual return to a 3 strikes type policy. So it's basically going after the career criminals in a way that will restore it, because it's been getting watered down by virtue of people saying, well, don't go bust them because, they had, one pot sale once.
Well, I completely agree. And by the way, cashless bail is an abomination. Sir, so we got to do something about that. Does your bill address that?
This bill does not, but we absolutely need to deal with cashless bail, and that's more of a state and local issue that issue, and it's one of the things that obviously the Attorney General that I'd be fully supporting changing.
You're reminding me of this clip, and I don't have it loaded yet, but there was a 2023 clip from MPD Chief Robert Conti, so out of D.C. He's now retired, but he said the average homicide suspect has been arrested 11 times prior to committing a homicide. 11 times in D.C.
Well, it's one of those things. My first legal job was actually in the Office of Attorney General, and I worked in the Prosecutor's Assistance Division, and I worked in what we call it's now called the Habeas Division, which is where we would go to appeals, and we'd fight to leave, keep people in jail or to go ahead and execute them through capital punishment. And people ask me all the time, well, what do you think about that? What if you get the wrong guy? I'm like, okay, look at their rap sheets. Like, I'd go through and look at these guys and I'd pull out their rap sheets, and they would be this long, right? Of just felony, assault, rape, theft, and maybe a previous murder that they've been released on. Like, these were the worst of the worst. And, at that time, the early 2000s, we were doing a pretty good job of keeping them in jail or carrying out capital punishment. We moved the other way, even in Texas. And as a result, we now have increased crime. And I saw that clip before we over the segment change of Charlie talking about, hey, I think D.C. will be a safer place if we get the National Guard in there, if the president gets his way. And guess what? D.C. is a much better place than it was a year ago when we had spiking crime, and we had members of Congress, staffers who were getting assaulted, some getting shot and killed.
I mean, it's such a basic thing. Very rarely does someone start with a severe crime. They start with lesser ones. If you enforce your basic laws, you'll have fewer murders, fewer rapes, fewer severe assaults. And I'm glad you mentioned the death penalty, because I know, frankly, that's an important dimension of this as well. We've seen,
as Attorney General,
we've seen the pattern of the left, which is, among other things, just if you get rid of the death penalty, they immediately move on to what we've seen in California, where now anyone with a life sentence who's over 50 can get parole for being elderly. And so we're seeing these serial child abductors and rapists being released at an age where they could still easily offend again. So even in Texas, though, I know the number of executions has gone down over time. Yeah. Can you tell us, do you have any plan to make sure that when someone is sentenced to death for a heinous crime, they will actually face accountability for it?
Yeah, one of the things you do as Attorney General is you're in charge of the Capital Litigation Division, the habeas division, to ensure that bad guys stay in jail or their, the execution is carried out. When I was the first Assistant Attorney General, I went down and with the Attorney General, and we witnessed an execution of a cop killer. Met with the families, met with the police officers who all came there, and it's important. And people don't understand, this is an important part of punishment, and it's where it's appropriate, it should be carried out. Look, we need bad guys to be in jail. We need the worst offenders to be removed entirely. I'm in favor of capital punishment for our worst offenders. We need to make sure that we secure our border regardless of who's in the White House. That's another reason I'm running for Attorney General. You can't assume Donald Trump in perpetuity. And all of that stuff added up with cartels, gang members, criminals on the streets, all of the leftists and the Marxists who are carrying out the Arabella Network and the Wren Collective and all of these groups that are funded, by the way, by our tax dollars, by outside dollars, by George Soros. The Office of Attorney General has an enormous amount of power to open their books, and we should open them. And we should also open the books of the groups that are pushing Islam, not just CARE, not just the Muslim Brotherhood, but all of the groups that are trying to Islamify Texas. Yeah. As Attorney General, Texas is not going to become an Islamic state. Texas is going to be safe and secure. Criminals will be behind bars. We're going to make sure that gang members are not on the streets and our borders secure.
Amen. Well, it's the biggest Attorney General office in a red state in the country. It's important. Chip Roy, God bless you, sir. We have your back. We'll be right back.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
When it's breaking,
We're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel and take Go Pills to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel locked in.
Go Pills are packed with neurotransmitter support. Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Mic on, lights up. Soldier Fuel keeps me dialed right in.
Both are used by the U.S. military every day.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
And they're now available to you.
This is huge.
Scan the QR codes below and order your supply today.
Hear that pop? So good.
Go to buysoldierfuel.com or search on Amazon.
this is performance fuel. Clean energy, sharp mind. That's how we do it at RAV.
Visit buygopills.com and get 15% off automatically.
Go Pills and Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. The annual Conservative Political Action Conference gets underway in Dallas, Texas today. As always, it's going to feature a who's who of conservative voices from across the globe. Real America's Voice will have a major presence again this year. You're looking at it here. Check out this behind-the-scenes footage of the massive stage that our crew is building. We'll have live coverage from CPAC 2026 first thing tomorrow morning and throughout the day here on Real America's Voice. You definitely don't want to miss it. We'll have live coverage both Thursday and Friday. By the way, the speakers list includes cabinet members, senators, also members of Congress, even former heads of state.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th, CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State. And Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com.
It's going to be a good time. You definitely don't want to miss it. Tune in. In other headlines this morning, newly confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin now officially on the job after being sworn into office on Tuesday. While in the Oval Office, the now former Oklahoma senator laid out a pathway to get his department funded while also getting the Save America Act passed. That pathway is reconciliation.
If that is in some form with funding ICE, possibly backfilling from the One Big Beautiful Bill, but also more importantly, the Save American Act. There's a framework that we can do through reconciliation, paying for it, put some of the policies that cost money in, because there's nothing more important than the Save American Act. I mean, that's what the American people want. There's 80% of the population say they want only Americans voting, citizens that are registered to vote, citizens that have done it the right way.
Even in his new position, as you just heard, the former senator thinking legislatively. Meantime, Democrats are continuing to try and limit President Trump's authority to carry out this war in Iran. Tuesday, Senate Republicans voted down a Democrat-backed War Powers resolution that would have forced the commander-in-chief to get congressional approval before carrying out any further attacks on Iran. Just like similar attempts to hamstring the president, this one failed along a near party line vote. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul was the only Republican to vote in favor of the measure. Pennsylvania Senator and Democrat John Fetterman voted no on the proposal. To date, 290 American soldiers have been wounded in the war. The U.S. Central Command says 255 have returned to duty, while some 35 are still out of action. 10 are considered seriously wounded. 13 service members, by the way, have been killed. Those numbers coming as the Trump administration is out with a 15-point ceasefire proposal to Iran. Pakistani officials say that it requires a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, missile limits, as well as access for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Meantime, the commander-in-chief putting pressure on the Islamic regime to accept his terms as he is sending thousands of paratroopers to the region. The troops are with the 82nd Airborne Division. Airborne Rangers are trained to parachute into hostile or contested territory in order to secure key sites. The deployment is scheduled to happen within days, and it bolsters the military buildup in the Middle East. Thousands of Marines are also headed to the war zone to serve in whatever capacity may be needed. The commander-in-chief says his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff are holding talks with an unnamed Iranian leader, but it is not the country's supreme leader. Amid the current troop increases, Iran is denying any talks with the United States. That's a quick check of your headlines. As always, we appreciate you being here with us. Let's take a quick break and then get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th, CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Hour 2 is underway. Joining us in studio, I don't know, these segments do numbers. You guys love it when we have students on. And so we have another student in studio this time, all the way from Laramie, Wyoming, and that's Gabe Saint. He's our chapter president of TPUSA up at University of Wyoming. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
A little bit different vibe than yesterday. We had two gals in from ASU that had like nice clothes and pretty hair. And I'm just saying, now we got a young man
finely dressed
with boots on and kind of have the cowboy vibe and all that stuff. How you doing? How are we doing?
I'm doing good. It's a little hot here. I'm not used to it.
Well, it's gonna be a lot hotter.
So. Well, actually, we're gonna dip back down into normal seasonal norms, and it was like 104 here. It was 104 here on Sunday, and we looked back. It broke the record, and the previous record was 94 or something like that, set in the 90s. So it's been a hot spell. So Gabe, tell us about what life is like as the chapter president of TPUSA in Wyoming, because you'd think culturally be a little different. Do you have hostilities? Has the chapter exploded in recent months? Tell us about it.
Yeah, you'd think that being at the University of Wyoming, we're the deepest red state in the country. Trump's won our state by a higher percentage than any other state. But yeah, UW, it's not the most friendly place towards conservatives. Never has been. It's kind of that two blue spots in Wyoming. You got Jackson and Laramie, college towns. So yeah, right after the assassination, like a kid in our student newspaper said that it was a duty to shoot conservatives, and like there was the celebrations on campus.
They published that?
They published that, yeah. And yeah, that was quoted in the student newspaper, and we had all sorts of stuff happen like right after that event, and so it's kind of wild. Chapter's huge. We're the only four-year university in the state, so it's kind of like where all of Turning Point in Wyoming coalesces is in Laramie. So yeah.
How big is the chapter grown?
In our weekly meetings, we get anywhere from 30 to 50 people, so that's big. And then when we hosted Charlie, we had 25% of the student body sign up.
I saw that. That was
you were there at that
remarkable.
event. Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. It was the biggest political event in the state of Wyoming since Trump came and campaigned against Liz Cheney. So
it's the only reason Trump will come to a state like Wyoming.
Well, you can't have Democrats representing Wyoming.
So. You absolutely can't. And it was interesting. I remember a couple speeches that Charlie gave in Wyoming, and he was like, "You guys think you have it all good here right now, but there are forces that will insinuate themselves, often with an R next to their name, that will dismantle the good things that are going on in the state of Wyoming."
Yeah, we have a huge rhino problem in the state of Wyoming.
Our Supreme Court.
Yeah, our Supreme Court just made abortion legal up until birth in the state of Wyoming, and you didn't think that happened in Wyoming. They brutalized an amendment we passed to combat against Obamacare and said, hey, this means you can now abort your baby. And so it's crazy. Last election cycle, our Freedom Caucus took the majority in our House of Representatives, and there's going to be a huge rhino clapback. They're going to try to, but I think we'll combat it.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think it's, a lot of people think this kind of stuff is limited to blue states or whatever. It's coming for you in a red state. And the fact that the student newspaper at the University of Wyoming, what's the total population of Wyoming?
560,000.
Okay. It's mostly a rural state.
The population
Laramie,
of Mesa.
Yeah, Laramie is the largest city in Wyoming, correct?
No, so our capital Cheyenne is. Cheyenne? I think we're in the top 5 though. Laramie.
Yeah. I think Cheyenne, Casper.
Yeah, what's the biggest?
What's the population though in that?
Laramie's 36,000 people.
Okay, 36,000 people, but it's got this college edge, and you're getting somebody with the audacity to write that it's the duty to shoot conservatives. How that's not incitement directly, by the way, is beyond me. You're the expert on the incitement rules, but it's a specific targeting of people, specific method of killing them.
You usually need at least 2 out of 3 of specific time, place, manner.
I can't believe that the newspaper would do that. All right, so let's talk about the issues facing young conservatives on campus. All right, what is the vibe in Wyoming, young conservatives, when it comes to Iran?
I think that, the kids in Laramie, the kids in Wyoming, I think they're kind of like the kids across the rest of the country. They're really questioning the war. Why are we there? Even I'm in that spot. I went on a Turning Point Israel trip, and it's just kind of hard to win the debate on campus. And I think that's where a lot of Turning Point students are. It's how do we win the debate? I
think it's as we've said, where we're a little concerned the administration, even where there is an argument to be made, they haven't aggressively made it. We've seen these hype videos and stuff, but there was this extended buildup, and even in the days before, I don't know that they were coming out and saying, here is the reason Iran is a bigger threat than they were even last summer, let alone years ago.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a good point. There's a case to be made, but we were critical in the early days that we didn't feel that the case had been successfully made. I think the admin then came back. You saw this from Marco and some others explaining the rationale. But the truth is, and I've been honest about this. People don't like to hear it. The kids don't like the Iran war, right? It could be the geopolitical, national security right call, but it is a political loser with Gen Z. There's kind of no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I think you guys are right. I just don't think that the case has been made with Iran. I think, I've been alive for 23 years. Our country's been at war in the Middle East all my life, and we've just gotten nothing but trillions of dollars in debt, dead soldiers that come back with PTSD, that ruins homes and families. We haven't gotten any oil. And I think, like my generation, we came like politically conscious when Trump ran in 2015, 2016. And so, like, he lives in our head rent-free talking about no more foreign wars and, like, kind of like how the old Gen Xers and boomers are with Reagan. Like, they still think, like, he's the mantra of the day. And so that just lives in our head. And, like, when we're on campus and we're trying to justify, the administration and defend, Trump, people poke holes in our ideology and they just point out the ideological consistencies. And, like, I was tabling 2 weeks ago talking about Iran and talking about, like, their nuclear program. But these guys that were right wing were saying, well, they're nuclear hedging, just like South Korea and Taiwan and Japan. They have a robust nuclear program to deter China, who's a nuclear threat. So it's just hard.
No, I agree. I mean, listen, we can't speak for Charlie because he's not here, and it would be wrong to do that. What I can say is that I watched the process unfold when it came to Midnight Hammer, and Charlie wanted to err on the side of avoiding foreign conflicts. There's no doubt he was anti-interventionist mostly, but he also was willing to give President Trump the benefit of the doubt in the sense that he has not gotten us embroiled in foreign conflicts, forever wars, quagmires. I would not describe what's going on in Iran as a quagmire. And ultimately, this is why we got President Trump elected, is to make tough decisions in tough situations. And he makes tough calls. These are impossible decisions where you're between a rock and a hard place where there isn't necessarily an easy answer, right? And so peace through strength only works, by the way, if you're willing to use that strength. Now, history and time will tell whether or not this was the right choice. But you've got to give President Trump some due that he has been the one president in our current modern American history that has not gotten us embroiled in a foreign conflict and a forever war. So this is a foreign conflict. But he's been his track record thus far has been pretty good. We'll see how it works out on this. But I think that's a really fair point, that it does put you in a position where even guys like Charlie were out there saying he's the peace president, selling President Trump as the peace president. And now it's more difficult to defend that. And that's a really, really fair point. Good Ranchers. I want to tell you guys about That's a perfect read for right now. Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers. Doesn't look like I have the write up here, but I remember anyways. GoodRanchers.com. Promo code Charlie. Good Ranchers is a company devoted to America's ranchers. And you can appreciate this, right, Gabe?
Oh, yeah.
I come from a ranching family as well. They're devoted to them. Everything, every cut of meat, even up to the final seal on the box, is American-made. So if you want to support America on our 250th anniversary, check out Good Ranchers. You will save money when you subscribe at GoodRanchers.com, which is what I do. I get one box a month. All my favorite cuts of meat. Make sure if you have kids, you get the chicken nuggets. They are seed oil free. As far as I know, it's the only seed oil free chicken nuggets in the country. Delicious, wonderful. And when you subscribe, you save money. They'll include a cut of meat as a free gift for life as long as you subscribe. So you get to pick which cut you want as that gift. Go to GoodRanchers.com. Use promo code Charlie at checkout to save $25 off your first box. That's GoodRanchers.com. Promo code Charlie. We'll be right back.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State. And Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G, others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice. Presented by Patriot Mobile, Birch Gold Group, Trump Tumblr, and 1776tumblr.com. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? If you ever talk to the host, you can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
Our nation preserved and conserved.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We are joined by Gabe Saint. He's our TPUSA chapter president up at the University of Wyoming. UW, by the way, is University of Washington in Seattle. Sorry.
Nah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so how many times a week do you table?
We table anytime between 1 and 4 times a week.
All right, 1 and 4 times a week. What are the main things that you're hearing from students when you're tabling? What are the biggest issues?
Yeah, I think obviously we just talked about Iran. A lot of free speech stuff. That's been a big topic on our campus for the last 3 years. University of Wyoming just adopted the Chicago principles, basically. So we have free speech protections on campus. Epstein, obviously, kind of like all the controversial stuff that you see on the Instagram Reels and X. So
yeah. So top issues. So what are when you're asked about Israel, for example, is that mostly coming from a left-wing faction or a right-wing faction? Both, maybe.
A little bit of both. I would say it more comes from a right-wing side. Our campus is definitely majority conservative with the students on campus, and so we are actually like trying to, I don't know, bring more right-wing kids, but they think that we're pretty moderate Turning Point on campus. Probably a little different from other campuses. So
yeah,
it's all
we're considered the radicals on those campuses.
Yeah. So it's a little odd, but we have some good conversations at tabling. Epstein was a big one for a while, but that kind of died off. We have a lot of talk about like energy in our state. That's always a big thing, always being talked about because we're a big coal capital. We have a lot of like controversy over wind farms and stuff. So
don't let them.
What about immigration rhetoric? Do you ever run into
that's
people?
A huge one.
Say they need migrants to work as ranch hands or anything? Or?
Yeah, no, not really. If there's anything that the right-wing kids on campus think that we're all right on is immigration. I mean, we're a bunch of moratoriumists, so
yeah. Fair enough. When you guys have your meetings, do you see are the meetings divided? Do you feel like there's factions?
Oh yeah, there's huge factions. We've been doing like this like cultural debate series where we talked about like feminism and like the simpery that's present among young men, and that's super controversial.
Explain that for our audience.
Yeah. So like. Talking about like feminism, there's kind of like this weird thing, among conservatives, and like we have this trad LARPing culture thing going on where everybody wants to make like sourdough bread and have a little farmhouse, and like I think that's and I think that's a great thing. But how much is that real? And like I don't remember who said it, but I made this proposition that was like, well, we want these like trad wives and stuff, and these young women want to be trad wives. But when it comes down to it, they're kind of like just crypto feminists because they want their husbands to have all the responsibility but no authority in the household or over the family. So it's just very odd and trying to like kind of poke holes in the thinking, make people think and ask questions about what they believe. And then like the young men, they're just like simps. Like they just, and we got to get rid of that. We need men to be leaders. So
I mean, completely.
No simping.
Yeah,
no simping.
Men need to be the leader of the household. You need to get your kids and your wife to church, and you need to be the breadwinner. You know, this is, by the way, I've said this before. I'm stealing the line from somebody else, but men are like trucks. They will be squirrely all over the road if there's not a load on them, and you put the load in the back of the bed, they'll drive straight as an arrow. So men, you have strong shoulders for a reason. You need to be loaded up with responsibility, and that's a good thing. You're going to have a life of purpose and of meaning and of productivity. And so, yeah, but there is this cultural element that says because of feminism, because women expect, there's a sense at least that a lot of women expect all the money, all the provision without any of the authority, that they're just opting out of this whole vibe. So what's the vibe on marriage on campus?
You know, I think that's probably one of the more controversial things. Like in my chapters, like a lot of the young men question whether it's worth it, and then the young women, they expect like their men in a weird way to be simps, and that's where there's a lot of controversy, and that's where you kind of see the factions. A lot of the young women expect they're just like their men will worship them, and it's kind of weird. What just define simps for our audience over 23? Yeah, for the boomers out there. Basically, simping's just like kind of like just worshiping, and like you revolve around your girlfriend or your wife. You kind of cater to them always. Not a lot of, you have all this responsibility, and you just kind of do whatever they say, and it's not about like being the rock of your relationship and being centered in Christ. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a huge problem, by the way, for people at home that maybe aren't internalizing this, but the divide between young men and young women about expectations when it comes to a relationship is actually a huge cultural problem. And we got to get to the root of it, because women need to start celebrating masculine men, strong men, men that can lead, men that can be productive fathers and husbands and entrepreneurs. And there is an expectation that's placed on young men like yourself that it's sort of all about the boss babe. We've got to put the woman on the pedestal, treat her like a princess, expect nothing out of her. I think that's really, really unhealthy. And I'm not saying all women believe this, but there is enough of them where it becomes I guess like a cultural phenomena, right? And that's kind of what you're feeling as a young man, right? Yeah. You know, like the young men, a lot of them, and if you go to like Amfest and SAS, we talk about it, like these young men, they get involved in the faith and they end up going to like really old forms of Christianity, like Catholicism. Orthodox. That's a weird one I don't get yet. Theology. Yeah, like I became Presbyterian because of it, so yeah. So, do you see a lot of friction between the sexes on campus? Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Really? Even conservatives? Even conservatives, yeah. So you're saying even conservative women are not, they don't understand kind of what a man is or a masculine man is? They want you to be simps too? Yeah, and I think that's just kind of, when you look at these cultural phenomenons, is that usually the men kind of start somewhere and it takes a little bit for the young women to get there too. And I think it mostly comes of just both sides not understanding each other, is that the young men have become way more right-wing and way Christian really fast over the last 5 years. And so I just think there's a little bit of a divide, and I think it'll catch up.
I think women, like biologically, they do feel attraction to assertive men and confident men, like men on a mission. And so you have to hope that if men are shifting that direction, as you say, that they'll win over women in their wake. And Charlie was a big believer in that. Yeah, that's what I think too. I think if men lead, women will follow. That's a controversial thing to say in today's age, but it shouldn't be. That's the way that God designed men to be leaders, men to be strong. Women need to celebrate that, not fight it. And I think you're totally right. Blake, I don't care what a woman says. Women are drawn to strong men. Yeah. They do not want beta males. Also, I would just like to say, our viewers like the fact that we explained what a simp was. They say, thank you. I am a boomer. I did not know what that was. So. Yeah. Well, listen, Gabe, I think you're doing great work. Everybody says that University of Wyoming is thriving under your leadership. This is your senior year, though, right? I'm actually a first-year law student now. So how's that work? Are you going to keep leading the chapter? Or I ain't giving it up. So. Are you developing leaders underneath you? A lot of freshmen this year because of everything that's happened. So yeah, it'll be good. All right. Well, good. Well, we got to get Turning Point back out to Wyoming. That seems like fertile ground. We got to keep Wyoming deep red. Yes. Well, Gabe's saying, glad you could make it. It's been a pleasure, and apparently you're a fan favorite, so good job. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. All right. Alex Marlow joins us next. We'll be right back.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink. Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Hi, this is Chris from Colorful Colorado. I'm drawbridge in the Getter Chat. I trust no one for my news except Real America's Voice. So if anyone asks, I was never here.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
My name is Sandy Zeiss. RAV is the greatest for me because I live alone, and when I'm watching in the morning, have my coffee, I feel like I'm talking with family.
Back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. The Trump administration is out with a 15-point ceasefire proposal to Iran. Pakistani officials are confirming the agreement, or at least the proposal, saying that it requires a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, missile limits, as well as access for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The commander-in-chief putting pressure on the Islamic regime to accept his terms as he is sending thousands of paratroopers to the region. The troops are with the 82nd Airborne Division. Airborne Rangers, by the way, trained to parachute into hostile or contested territory in order to secure key sites. The deployment is scheduled to happen within days, and it bolsters the military buildup in the Middle East. Thousands of Marines are also headed to the war zone in order to serve in whatever capacity may be needed. The commander-in-chief says his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, are both holding talks with an unnamed Iranian leader, but apparently it is not the country's supreme leader. Amid the current troop increases, Iran is denying that any talks are taking place. Meantime, Democrats are continuing to try and limit President Trump's authority to carry out the war in Iran. On Tuesday, Senate Republicans voted down a Democrat-backed war powers resolution that would have forced the commander-in-chief to get congressional approval before carrying out any further attacks on Iran. Just like a similar attempt to hamstring the president, this one failed along near party line votes. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul was the only Republican to vote in favor of the measure, while Pennsylvania Senator and Democrat John Fetterman voted no on the proposal. To date, 290 American soldiers have been wounded in the war. The U.S. Central Command says 255 have returned to duty, while some 35 are still out of action. 10 are considered seriously wounded. In all, 13 service members have been killed. Well, newly confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen is now officially on the job after being sworn into office on Tuesday. While in the Oval Office with the president on Tuesday, the now former Oklahoma senator laid out a pathway to get his department funded while also getting the Save America Act passed. That pathway, he says, is budget reconciliation. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'm Terrence Bates.
In spirit. You're listening to The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back, man. You guys loved Gabe Saint. People loved our chapter president.
It's one of the reasons people love Charlie so much. Yeah. They like to see a young person with good conservative values who can articulate them.
I know, but we got to fix this whole male-female divide. Women, you got to understand that men will be men, and that's a good thing. Stop fighting them. Anyways,
dudes have done amazing things.
And so have women. It's about having proper balance between the masculine and the feminine. All right. I want to tell you guys about Patriot Mobile, the good folks at Patriot Mobile, and I'm talking about Glenn and Jen Story. They are amazing, amazing patriots. This is why they named their company Patriot Mobile. So here's what most people don't realize: Patriot Mobile isn't just a wireless provider; they're activists, funded by selling top-tier cell phone service. They've been on the front lines defending our freedom long before it was cool, standing in the gap when others wouldn't. So it's the only Christian conservative wireless provider out there. So if you want to support those values, the values that we share on this show, sign up today, make the switch. It's easier than ever. They have access to all 3 major wireless carriers in the country, so you get the same great service you've become accustomed to. It's just better because they also have U.S.-based customer support. They have unlimited roaming. They have unlimited data. They have international roaming. All the things. They got mobile hotspots. So you can check out them at patriotmobile.com/Charlie. Check them out. 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Charlie for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie. There are no excuses
left. We should
left.
really emphasize that U.S.-based customer service. I've seen the office. It's in Fort Worth.
Yes.
It's not in Mumbai or Bangalore,
Steve's
Karachi.
done a show from there. They have actually offered us to do our show from there, and I think we should take them up on it. Let's do that. Without further ado, Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, joins us now, also host of the Alex Marlow Show. Welcome, my friend. It's good to have you. It's in times like these that we need our trusted voices to rally around and make sense of the world. But I got kind of a fun one for you. This is stranger than fiction. Actually, it's not. It's completely predictable for California. The University of Southern California has abruptly canceled a California gubernatorial debate just hours before it was set to air Monday. Why? Because all 6 qualifying candidates were white. Alex, you know California well. I couldn't resist. I mean, it's not like front page news, but it's really important just to get into the psyche of the left. And this, are you surprised? I have a feeling.
I'm actually surprised all the top candidates are white. I mean, the state, it feels like there's not that many white people left. It feels like there's a lot of white people who live in the state.
You go walk around California and you kind of go, where did all the white people go?
Where did all the whites go? No, I was just commenting on how it seems like a lot of the people who were part of the golden age of California have kind of left the state for anywhere. It's the lefties sometimes leave and go to Canada, places like that. And then righties, we go to Florida, we go to Texas, we go to Arizona, we go to places like that. So, it's actually very shocking that this is the case. But it also illuminates on a more serious cultural level the fact that the left has for years now, probably were a solid decade. You can maybe trace this to the first time Donald Trump was elected in 2016 to when they had that psychological break. They have no longer care about standards at all. They don't care about excellence. They don't care about a track record. They care about representation and identity. So if you don't have one of those boxes to check, if you not have brown skin or you're LGBTQ, 3-spirit, 4-spirit, furry, whatever it is that you are, or you don't have some sort of a strange heritage that you can call upon, then you should not be in a position of power in this country. This is how people look at things. And it's not just in places like government, it's places like book publishing where they have these sensitivity readers now that are reading books to make sure that the representation is done in the proper way. It's peak wokeness. We are not past the woke moment. We are still in it in blue parts of the country. And this is a very clear example of this. And it's just great to watch the progressives eat themselves alive, though, I got to admit.
So I have a theory that California would be totally on board with mass deportations if it was white people. If they
100%.
They would. This is essentially what their policies are designed to do, by the way.
I mean, it's just like every time they get actually very angry anytime a white person would be a refugee from another country, like they'll move heaven and earth. It's just 100% obvious in everything they do. They don't like white people.
So we have to play a clip from Charlie asking the question about, has any institution been better off because of DEI? SOT 24.
You're thinking that DEI is versus excellence? I think DEI is for excellence.
Show me one institution that got better the more embraced DEI.
One institution that got better that embraced DEI?
Yeah, that got smarter, more competitive, leaner, more productive, and that was better than it was 10 years ago. Are our airports more efficient? Are we landing planes better? Are our airlines better? Is our government better? Is our schools better? Is our universities better? Show me one example. Is our public health authorities better? Show me one institution that's embraced DEI that has become better, more excellent than it was 20 years ago. It doesn't exist. DEI will destroy an institution from within.
It's almost like he's talking specifically about California there. And by the way, I was at that event. That was at UC Riverside. I remember that.
I hate to be dark about it, but that's why they killed him. I mean, they're just so devastating. It's you cannot come back from that argument, and that it just gives you chills. It strikes fear of God into people on the left because they can't defend that argument. Their defense of that argument would be that DEI is the end in and of itself, that having better representation is the goal. It's not excellence. It's not progress. It's not making us all happier or more powerful or wealthier or bigger leaders on the world stage. No, the goal is to have more representation. That's how the left looks at things. That is the goal in and of itself. And that is just so far away from anything our founders stood for. Any of you who abide by Judeo-Christian principles, there's nothing like that you could draw off of. And people like you and me, guys, like people who with conservative values, this is so far afield for us. But that's how they think in the city and the state.
Well, and compare and contrast that now what's going on in Texas with the Democrat candidate for Senate, James Talarico, who has apologized for being white. He's apologized for, the sin. He's so in touch with his privilege, right? And now he's got this whole vegan scandal, which is hilarious. But it's interesting that you have a canceled debate in California because everybody's white, whereas in Texas, they're very excited that James Talarico is white. This is why James Colbert got behind him and didn't want to platform Crockett, right? She was not out of central casting for a state like Texas. They don't care what color you are. They care that you're the right color for the right context. That's what James Talarico proves.
Yeah, they cast James Talarico, and they found a guy who claims he's a Christian, who speaks confidently about the Bible. Apparently, he knows nothing about it, but he does speak about it with confidence. He went to the Lego store, and he got one of those giant hair pieces, and he popped it onto his head. I have no idea how he got hair like that. It does look like a Lego piece. Am I right, guys? I mean, that's what it looks like. And so he's out there, and he says he's not going to eat barbecue in Texas. It's like I dream in the middle of the night. I wish I was in Texas.
Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. Let's take you straight to the White House, where the latest White House press briefing is getting underway. Caroline Levitt at the podium.
In the 11th cabinet meeting of his second term. And later tomorrow afternoon, the president will host a Greek Independence Day celebration in the East Room. On Friday, the president will celebrate National Agriculture Day alongside nearly 1,000 farmers who are coming in from across the country for the first event of the season on the South Lawn, so pray for good weather, to highlight the president's successful policies in support of America's farmers, including efforts to lower input costs, open new trade markets, bolster the farm safety net, double the death tax exemption, end taxes on rural property loan interest, and create rural opportunity zones. Also, I'm pleased to announce that President Trump's meeting and a long-awaited meeting with President Xi in China will now take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and President Trump will also host President Xi and Madam Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date to be announced this year. Turning to the ongoing military operations in Iran, the United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, we dropped several 5,000-pound bombs on an underground facility used to store equipment, including anti-ship cruise missiles and mobile missile launchers positioned along the coastline of the strait. Our military efforts grow more successful with each passing day, steadily degrading Iran's ability to terrorize merchant ships. For all of these reasons, we are very close to meeting the core objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and this military mission continues unabated. From the outset, President Trump and the Department of War estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve this critical mission. 25 days in, the greatest military the world has ever known is ahead of schedule and performing exceptionally. Day by day, the Iranian regime is being crippled, and their ability to threaten the United States and our allies is being significantly weakened. Their ambitions of building a nuclear weapon have also been crushed to an even greater degree than they were in Operation Midnight Hammer in June 2025. That's why you're beginning to see the regime look for an exit ramp. They recognize they are being crushed, their ability to attack American and ally forces, as well as their ability to defend their own territory is dwindling literally hour by hour. Following President Trump's powerful threat on Saturday evening, it was made clear to the United States that Iran wanted to talk. President Trump is willing to listen. As President Trump announced on Monday, the United States has been engaged over the last 3 days in productive conversations, which led the president to temporarily instruct the Department of War to postpone planned strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure only. The remaining elements of the Iranian regime have another opportunity to cooperate with President Trump, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and cease actively threatening America and our allies. But the president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal. Here at home, we are now on day 40 of the Democrats' shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats in Congress are forcing American travelers to wait in hours-long lines at airports across the country, robbing TSA officers and other federal workers of their hard-earned paychecks that they use to feed their families, and causing billions of dollars in damage to our economy. A father of 3 recently told CBS News that he felt he had no other choice but to quit his job as a TSA officer and find other work as the Democrats' shutdown of DHS continues. This is the quote from the father, and I encourage everyone to listen. I think the hardest thing is seeing the struggle that my wife was going through and not trying to bring more stress to her, the father of 3 said, but seeing her cry every night, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to survive? For the Democrats in Congress, the cruelty of this shutdown is the point. Nearly 500 TSA officers have quit since the Democrat shutdown began. President Trump, to alleviate this pressure, made the decision to send some of our amazing ICE agents to help alleviate that stress and address the long wait times. And for all of the critics of this solution a few days ago when it was proposed by the president, it is yielding results. Wait times have improved since ICE arrived, and they are doing everything in their power to help their fellow federal service members. But it's important to take a step back and remember, why is this even happening in the first place? For nearly 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have kept DHS shut down because they care more about illegal aliens than American citizens. You have Democrat elected representatives in states across the country who are willing to inflict massive pain on their own constituents to fight for illegal aliens who broke our nation's laws to come here. In recent days, we saw the deadly consequence of this deranged policy of Democrat open borders and an illegal alien-first agenda. A beautiful 18-year-old girl, Sheridan Gorman, she was shot and killed in Chicago last Thursday morning while walking in a park with friends. The suspect in custody for murdering her is a Venezuelan illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in May of 2023. Why would the Biden administration catch and release a Venezuelan illegal alien? That is not happening anymore under this president. But there are still tens of thousands, if not millions, of these illegal aliens in our country who seek to do harm to innocent Americans, like this beautiful young woman whose family will now never be the same because of her death. To make matters even worse, this monster was also released from local custody again after a shoplifting arrest, where? In the sanctuary city of Chicago in June of 2023. Again, another innocent American citizen had her life stolen from her because Democrats embrace reckless open border policies and reckless sanctuary city policies, which put criminals back into American communities. How many more Americans have to die before the Democrats end this madness? President Trump's position is very clear. He wants the federal government opened, he wants the Department of Homeland Security funded, and he wants the Democrat shutdown to end immediately. The president will also continue to call on Democrat leaders in sanctuary cities and states like J.B. Pritzker, where this young, beautiful girl was murdered, to cooperate with ICE and stop releasing illegal alien criminals into American neighborhoods. It is for the safety of every American citizen, including all of the people in this room. With that, I will take your questions, and here in our new media seat today, we have Gabe Fleischer.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Gabe, for being here.
Thank you. I have two questions for you. First, if the war in Iran continues past this current round of peace talks, and with thousands of troops on their way to the Middle East, is there a point, either a number of ground troops or a number of days, at which the president will consider seeking authorization from Congress?
Well, as you know right now, that formal authorization from Congress is not necessary because we're currently in major combat operations in Iran. The Department of War and the president, as I said, estimated about a 4 to 6 week timeline for the full completion of these military combat operations. We're again on day 25 today. And as a courtesy, nevertheless, the administration did notify Congress, the Gang of Eight, ahead of the launch of the operation 25 days ago. And we've also had our top national security officials go to Capitol Hill to brief lawmakers, again, out of courtesy and out of respect for them. So at this moment, it's unnecessary, but of course, the president and this administration will always abide by the law. Gabe. Or do you have a follow-up?
Yes,
sure, go ahead.
Second question. In my reporting, I speak a lot to young voters, many of whom voted for President Trump for the first time in 2024, hoping to have no more wars and to have lower prices. Now, with the war taking place and with gas prices going up, curious what President Trump's message would be to those voters who kind of swung into his coalition in 2024, but maybe don't feel the administration's going as they had expected.
President Trump is doing this for you. He's doing this for young people so that we are no longer threatened by a rogue terrorist regime in the Middle East that seeks to kill the brave men and women who serve in our country in the Middle East, many of them young people themselves, young men and women who serve this country honorably in uniform and have been threatened, killed, and maimed by the rogue Iranian terrorist regime for 47 years. President Trump finally had the courage to step up and do what's right by our national security, our homeland security. As for the temporary short-term fluctuation in gas prices, the president has said once these combat operations are over, this administration is going to continue to unleash unleash American energy dominance. We're continuing to do that every day, and we're going to see prices at the pump go back down, just as we have over the past year because of this president. And don't think for 1 second if the Democrats had their way, gas prices would be, as they were under the previous administration, the Biden administration, record highs. This president is keeping them as low as he can during this short-term combat operation, and they're going to go right back down when this is over.
Thank you.
Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Just within the past few hours, Iranian state TV has said that Iran has rejected the U.S.'s 15-point plan to end the war. What's the White House's response to that, and have these talks hit a dead end?
They have not. Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual. So I am not going to negotiate on behalf of the president here at the podium. What I will tell you is these talks are ongoing. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details that have been exchanged between the United States and Iran at this time.
Well, yesterday the president mentioned a very big present that the Iranians had given the U.S. He wouldn't go into detail, but was it that ship that was carrying 2 million barrels of oil that made it through the Strait of Hormuz?
I'll let the president speak on that at the appropriate time.
And then finally, Caroline, today Iraq's government reportedly is planning to lodge a protest with the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal. There was an attack in Iraq that hit a military clinic, killing 7 soldiers reportedly. What's the U.S.'s response to that? Was the U.S. responsible for that attack?
I'll have to check in with the Pentagon on that, and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you, Caroline, too, if I may. Speaker Johnson today described the conflict as wrapping up, but the 82nd Airborne Division, they're typically deployed at the beginning of conflicts. So does the White House consider this conflict as wrapping up, or is it changing shape?
As I said at the beginning of my remarks, we are meeting our goals of Operation Epic Fury expeditiously. The president likes to maintain options at his disposal. It's the Pentagon's job to provide those options to the commander-in-chief. For any specifics on troop deployments, though, I would point you to the Pentagon.
And today, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner reiterated threats to potentially arrest ICE agents that were sent in to assist with these historically long TSA lines. He said, quote, "The president cannot pardon you." Has the president seen Krasner's comments? Does he have any response?
The president cannot pardon you for what? He's talking to the ICE agents who are handing out water bottles and are helping people move through lines at airports. It's a disgraceful comment. The men and women of ICE are great people. I would encourage this lawmaker, whose name I don't know and don't care to know, to actually sit down and speak with the ICE agents who are on the ground doing this important work, not just in our nation's airports, but again, to remove violent, dangerous, illegal alien criminals from our country, to protect this individual and all of us in this room and Americans across the country from murderers, pedophiles, and rapists who have been allowed into our country by Democrat politicians. Mario, good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Good to see you as well. Just given that the president postponed his original trip to China because of the war, should we infer that the war will be wound down and concluded by the time of that May 15th, 14th visit?
Again, as I've said, we've always estimated approximately 4 to 6 weeks, so you could do the math on that, Mario, but we do look forward, I know the president looks forward to going to China on May 14th and 15th, and of course, as always, we'll provide additional logistical details to all of you in the media for that trip, who I know look forward to coming with us as well.
One follow-up. Was that a precondition? Did the two leaders speak about the conclusion of the war? Was that a precondition for them to have this rescheduled meeting?
No, there was a discussion about the rescheduling of the meeting between the president and President Xi. President Xi understood that it's very important for the president to be here throughout these combat operations right now. He understood, obviously, the request to postpone and accepted it, which is why we have new dates on the books, and I'm happy to announce those to you today. Jennifer.
On the negotiations with Iran, are there still face-to-face talks planned perhaps in Pakistan? And who do you think would probably be going?
Again, I've seen a lot of speculation and reporting about potential talks that could happen later this week. Nothing should be deemed official until it is announced formally by the White House. I would not get ahead of our skis on reporting about any talks this weekend until you hear directly from us.
Does the president think that all of the allies will go along with whatever the U.S. concludes with these Iranians? Are you expecting that Israel and all the other allies will follow whatever agreement is made?
I think the president has shown that he is absolutely the leader of the free world, the head of the most powerful military in the world, and in various examples, so the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, the president has shown a very unique skill at getting our allies to get on board with what's in the best interest of the United States, but also the world in cases of foreign policy like this. Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So, is there a time frame as to when the first oil tanker can go through the Strait of Hormuz freely?
It's a very good question, Ed. I don't have a specific timeline for you today, but it's obviously something the administration is working towards as quickly as we can. And with respect to oil, as you know, the administration has taken a number of actions to stabilize the markets. We directed the U.S. DFC to offer reasonably priced political risk insurance for takers through the strait. We issued that temporary waiver to allow countries to purchase sanctioned Russian oil to alleviate global pressures. We're working with the IEA to coordinate the release of another 400 million barrels. We issued that 60-day Jones Day Act waiver. And then just today, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, if you missed it, in consultation with the Department of Energy, announced a temporary emergency fuel waiver to allow nationwide sales of E15, gasoline blended with 15% ethanol, to remove all federal impediments to selling E10 gasoline across the country. The emergency fuel waiver will temporarily waive the summer low volatility requirements and blending limitations for gasoline to provide additional flexibility to the fuel marketplace. So as far as tankers through the strait, something we're tracking very closely, but obviously the administration is coming up with creative new solutions by the day to keep the price of oil stable, something the president wants to see. And I know Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, EPA Administrator Zeldin are all working together closely to find ways to do that.
The president gave that 5-day timeline for pause in operations. Would a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz be one of the conditions that he would extend that?
That's only something the President of the United States can answer. I won't get ahead of him.
How about on TSA? Can I ask you about the TSA lines?
Sure.
Are the TSA lines, we've all seen the video of that from various airports, is that going to be what ends the stalemate in Congress to get DHS funded?
Well, look, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. And we've attempted in good faith numerous times, both the president himself and lawmakers on the